Master, this woman was taken in adultery, in the very act. Now Moses, in the law, commanded us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? What sayest thou?
He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her.
Hello guys, welcome back to Paranormal Debunked. That beautiful message you just saw is the first attempt by the church to make it seem like Jesus Christ and his best 12 bodies were actually literate. But the thing is, when we look at the oldest manuscript of John, the story is absent. This story was fixed at later dates by a later scribe, who feels like this story should be conveyed alongside the Bible. But the thing is, today is not about Jesus Christ. It is about what we know about literacy in the ancient world. When I was just a boy, and I was too young to mount any form of sophisticated argument against those who are seeking to lobotomize me with the best intentions, I believed the Bible was accurate. In fact, believing the Bible is accurate is actually a cornerstone to what it means to be a Christian. But now as an adult, I have put childish thought away. The more I read the Bible and I examine it, the more mistakes I actually find. Even as an adult, and as my face slipped away from me, you know that kind of sudden feeling of repentance and fear you feel when you say God's love is with its own conditions. I didn't even dare to ask who wrote the Bible. Many theists around the world today still believe that Peter wrote the book of Peter and Matthew wrote the book of Matthew. But the thing is, nothing can be further from the truth. Like in my last video where I proved 1st and 2nd Peter to be all forgeries, written to solve the rising problems of doubt in the church. I'm going to show you why Peter and all of Jesus' best bodies couldn't write. And the funniest thing is, even if you read the Bible very carefully, you will see that the Bible stated that Jesus' disciples were illiterate, but no one really catches up to it. But stay to the end of the video to actually find this out. If you are new to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and please, if you love the content, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Help me reach 1K before Christmas. What do we know about literacy in the ancient world? Back in those days, the world was really chaotic. There were more child soldiers and people enrolling for military service than those being invested in to go to a center of learning. It wasn't schools back then. Why? Because it was before the Industrial Revolution and there was no reason to invest money into producing a literate population. At the best of time, only 10% of the world population were literate. I'm sure if you're familiar with the findings, you've heard apologetics say things like 10%. Matthew was a tax collector and Luke was a doctor. Any of them could have been one of those 10%.
You see, there's one thing that you can't do, not you, but I mean people in general can't do. Like people will say, okay, 90% of all the people in the ancient world were illiterate, right? That means that all of the apostles were illiterate. That does not follow.
And their followers are always eating on the palm of their hands because they are unaware of the fact that Matthew do not claim to be written by Matthew. There is nowhere in the book of Matthew that says, I am Matthew and I witnessed it. Or Luke. It was written in the third person, not the first. They used they, not we went to or he went to. But what happens when we take a closer look into the lives of the disciples? Peter was born in rural Palestine, and the vast majority of the people in the ancient world were in the lower class, not the middle class. It's either you are high or you are low, or very, very low, except for some slaves in the very bottom of society who were educated at their master's expense because they could do some things in the house that requires literacy. Reading and writing were taught differently. The way our present educational system is set up, you can learn both together. Which makes us modern people soon to be ancient instinctively conclude that once you can read, you can write. Maybe not like Shakespeare, but a decent letter to your uncle in London. Those studying linguistics or history can learn how to read Greek or Hebrew, but very few of them actually learn how to write it. I myself can read a little French, copy down a few letters, but I can't compose a meaningful sentence on my own. Those who could read were few, and those that could read could not write. Those that could copy down alphabets were fewer, and those people were less than those who could compose highly literate Greek. These are not the top 10%, these are not the top 5%, these are not the top 1%. Those who were alive and could do what the Bible did were less than 1% of the population. Jesus was Hebrew. The Bible wasn't written in Jesus' native language, Aramaic. It was written in refined Greek that less than 1% of the people alive at the time could actually write. Most elites lived in the urban areas, not the rural area, and most elites learned how to read Hebrew, not Greek. For the whole of the 4th century, only 2 people were known to have produced literary work. For the whole of the 4th century, only Josephus and a man called Tiberius, Justus of Tiberius, were known to have produced literary work. Was Peter the fisherman part of these guys, or in league with them? Not at all. The only account of Peter's history comes from the Bible, and according to the Bible, Peter lived in Capernaum, a middle of nowhere in rural Galilee, which was never mentioned by anyone anywhere until it was mentioned in the Bible. And it was discovered in the 19th century, and it was being excavated since then. No evidence of any public building was discovered, not even a shop or a storage facility. Markets were held in tents and open unpaved public areas. There are no traces of pagan or Gentile population in the town. The city doesn't exist in any major international trade routes. It doesn't really even exist in the map. There were no structures associated with social elite like frescoes, paved walls or roof tiles or houses built with marble. But the houses there were built with stone basalts, clay and mud, with thatched roof, the one we actually use in Nigeria. Olden days. Every evidence of Peter's home actually points to the fact that the inhabitants of his home were predominantly illiterate, and nothing suggests that anyone could speak Greek. And in the words of Barteman, a biblical scholar, as a lower class fisherman, Peter would have started work as a young boy and never attended school. There was in fact no school there. If there was school there, he probably didn't attend. If he did attend, it would have been to receive rudimentary training in how to read Hebrew, but almost certainly never happened. Peter was an illiterate peasant. As it even turns out, even the New Testament gave evidence that Peter was literate. The book of Acts chapter 4 verse 13 clearly and boldly stated that Peter was uneducated.
Allow me to show thee.
Now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were aggrammatory, that is the Greek word for illiterate. And some could say that Peter dictated his letter to a scribe or a secretary, like in the book of 1 Peter that indicated that Peter actually sent the letter through Silvanus, a man called Silvanus. But all scholar, and indeed it shows, that Silvanus was only carrying the letter. Peter couldn't have dictated his letter either for the same reason that he couldn't have written the letter in Greek. The letter was written by someone who understands rhetorical devices and could speak highly literate Greek. Same with the Gospels, all the Gospels written by Jesus Christ's bodies, who actually claimed that they were there or like James or Jude or John. Come to really think of it, like really think of it. Do you really think, as beautiful as the Beatitudes are, it is an accountant that actually wrote the Beatitudes or someone who actually understands rhetorical devices? I don't really subscribe to conspiracy ideas, but the kind of people that could have written the Bible would have been highly educated, highly influential, powerful men.
A powerful
men. And a few of them existed in the time. That is why there is a conspiracy theory that the rulers and the aristocrats were actually the one who invented religion to keep the poor enslaved.
For centuries we've tried, with religion, with politics, and now consumerism, to eliminate dissent.
Peace, guys.